Chang Yao lives a life of pure bad luck. His existence is a series of disasters. After a fire, he loses absolutely everything, and ends up seeking refuge in his ancestral home. There, he finds an ancestral guardian spirit, and an old wardrobe changes his destiny. Because when he enters it, he is thrown into a deadly survival game. Magical clothes give him identities and powers. And besides defeating some creatures, he will have to solve crimes. The final prize will be the granting of any wish. This story is really good. Guys, I bet you've never seen anything like it. The story begins with a gigantic building on fire, and the news says the cause may have been a short circuit at the police station. The owner complains that he destroyed the house and will still have to pay the neighbors. She shows the phone with the absurd amount he will have to cover alone. Our hero Chang Yao laments that he barely received his severance pay. And the money is already gone. Distracted, he doesn't even notice a mother with her daughter, until someone yells for him to be careful. Suddenly, a vase falls right on his head, throwing him hard to the ground. To top off the misery, he sees that his phone screen is completely shattered from the fall. Think of an unlucky guy already without hope. He says that his name is Chang Yao, and that his life has been a disaster since childhood. In school, the dog ate his homework, and at work every company he joined went bankrupt. But tired of everything, he finally arrives in front of an old gate, and decides that this is the place. He remembers that his father said this was the ancestral home of his family. Since he has no money to rent anything, he thinks about cleaning it up and staying there anyway. But inside, the place is falling apart, and he even doubts the house will hold up. With that, the boy pushes the doors and enters the main hall. All dusty, he finds it strange that the furniture is intact, when a ghostly shadow appears right behind him without noticing the presence. He runs his hand to wipe the dust off an old chair. At the same instant, the entire chair simply crumbles into dust, to his surprise. He realizes there's no saving anything, and he will have to replace it all when he has money. Suddenly, a voice out of nowhere tells him to leave, leaving the protagonist very scared. He wonders if he heard right, but then the ghost appears with full force in front of him. The apparition yells for him to get out, and Chang Yao runs in despair, yelling that it's a ghost. He runs desperately, unable to believe he's seeing a real ghost right in front of him, but then he realizes she doesn't teleport, and also didn't do anything to block the path. The ghost just keeps telling him to leave, which makes the boy suspicious. In this, he realizes that his father never said the family house was this big. The apparition keeps yelling for him to disappear, so he decides to run anywhere. Already out of breath, he stops for a moment, realizing he needs to find a place to hide. Seeing a door, he runs in that direction, and the ghost yells even louder for him to leave. He understands that if she is that desperate, it's because that room has something very important. Inside, he looks around and suspects that the secret may be in that wardrobe. The ghost phases through the door, but Chang Yao puts himself in front of the wardrobe and a light explodes. A system screen appears out of nowhere in front of him, announcing that the game has begun. Chang Yao wakes up a bit dizzy, recovering from the flash and not understanding where he is. He finds himself in the middle of the street, and wonders how he managed to get out of that house. Then a system voice congratulates him for entering the game, leaving him even more confused. Suddenly a hand grabs his shirt tightly, and he asks if the person is crazy. It's the ghost, now in human form, who yells at him for messing with other people's things. He thinks to himself that, in the end, that ghost isn't even that scary. In fact, he thought she was cute. This guy is shameless. Outraged, the girl yells that he is the ghost and his whole family too. She then introduces herself proudly as the guardian spirit of the Zhang family. He doesn't understand and asks why she doesn't protect him, since he is also a Zhang. But the girl says that without the family inheritance, he's just any random member. Chang Yao becomes thoughtful, trying to understand what family inheritance that would be. In this, a guard appears yelling, asking what class they are from and where their uniforms are. The boy finds the question strange, but the girl is shocked to realize the guard can see her, and a system notification warns that he has unlocked the Zhang family wardrobe. The system says he can choose an outfit, but must not be caught by the teacher. He then realizes that the wardrobe is actually a game item. Determined, he ignores the guard and mentally commands the wardrobe to open. A golden light appears, and from inside it come two complete school uniforms. He looks at the clothes, wondering what kind of weird item that was. Seeing the guard approaching, he quickly hands one of the uniforms to the girl beside him. In the same instant she gets dressed and waves to the teacher, leaving the protagonist shocked by the speed. But the disguise doesn't work, and the guard orders both of them to stop immediately. The teacher recognizes her and only warns her not to be late next time. Seeing that it worked, Zhang Yao wonders if he will also have to dress up. Pressed by the guard, he gets dressed and turns into a schoolgirl. A girl in quotation marks, right? The guard becomes furious, yelling that boys cannot enter the girls' school. Cornered against the wall, he realizes the plan went very wrong, and the scene changes. Suddenly he transforms completely into a girl with rabbit ears. Now he really became a girl. This story is getting weird. The guard takes on a ghostly aura, but only asks why they are still out there instead of in the classroom. Zhang Yao understands that the uniform even changes his gender, and I know you there thought about the possibilities of that power. They find the right classroom and he admits that each item in that wardrobe is very useful. Suddenly a whip hits his back hard, making him scream in pain. A sinister teacher asks why she still isn't in her seat, since the bell is about to ring. Now seated, he still complains about the pain while the ghost seems to not care at all. The teacher, with a whip in hand, asks with a smile how they learned the rules. With a whip strike on the board, she orders our protagonist to read the rules out loud to the class. On the board the rules appear: don't be late, don't whisper, and don't wear strange clothes. He finds it very bizarre to have to study the school rules, wondering what kind of place that is. The bell rings again, for a little later at night. Going up the stairs, he complains that he's never seen a school where you have to go to the dorm after class. The ghost girl then asks what happens if they break those boring rules. With a serious look she warns that if they do that, something very scary will happen. If they break the rules, they'll suffer the punishment of hearing Justin Bieber for 30 straight minutes. In the hallway they meet two other girls, one of them looking quite frightened. The girl with glasses notices the two and asks if by any chance they are new players. Seeing that they are, she invites them into the room and asks them to close the door. Inside she explains that besides them, room 403 also has a group of players. Jang finds it strange how much they know and asks how many days they've been trapped there. The girl with glasses answers that they've been there for 5 days or maybe just 1 day. The ghost and the bunny girl become confused, wanting to know what she means by that. The little bunny girl then reveals that they have been repeating May 30th non-stop. The ghost is surprised that she is talking, and Zhang Yao signals for her to stay quiet. But at that moment the door to the room opens. A girl appears in the doorway yelling that they don't know whispering is forbidden in the dorm. The warning leaves all the girls tense and scared about what might happen now. A short girl appears yelling, announcing a dorm inspection for everyone. She points at our protagonist, complaining about his appearance and ordering him to remove the hair bow. Desperate, he thinks he can't do that or he will turn back into a man immediately. But the inspector doesn't care and keeps insisting that he take off the accessory. Seeing the situation, the girl with glasses panics, realizing something bad is going to happen. Suddenly the inspector begins to be covered by a black slime and transforms. She becomes a frightening monster, saying that disobedient students will pay dearly. With a single blow the creature throws our protagonist violently to the floor. In the fall the hair bow comes off and he returns to his original male form. The monster is surprised, yelling about how there can be a man in the girls' dorm. This is every otaku teenager's fantasy, paying a visit to the girls' dorm. But when it was about to attack, a sword of light appears out of nowhere and blocks the strike. The girl with glasses says they need to eliminate the monster before the noise attracts others. Here he was saved, but if it were you invading the girls' dorm you'd get beaten up by them. Jingyao becomes confused, wondering how they plan to eliminate that thing. He notices that the other girls are armed, ready to start the fight. The pink-haired girl uses her teddy bear, which turns into a monster and attacks. He stays there frozen in the middle of the fight, staring at the creature and the demonic bunny. But the monster turns against him, and the girl with glasses yells for him to be careful. Out of nowhere a wardrobe appears in front of him and blocks the lethal attack. The girl with glasses yells that this is the perfect chance for him to strike back with, but this coward is inside the wardrobe, wondering how a wardrobe can be a weapon. A system notification appears, warning that the player has unlocked the wardrobe. With that, the hairstyle, clothes, shoes, and accessories sections are also unlocked. The system also informs that the lottery by points function is now available to him. He tries to open a drawer but realizes he will have to unlock each one separately. A roulette appears out of nowhere, and he discovers he earned 2 spins for defeating the monster. While some stories have destructive power systems, here we have a femboy system. The scene shifts to the girl with glasses, who laments that her clothes are all torn after the fight. The pink-haired girl feels guilty, but the other says that if it weren't for her, she wouldn't be there. She then thanks her companion, saying that without her stuffed toy they would never have one. But the ghost girl becomes irritated and orders the two to stop exchanging pleasantries. She says everyone helped in the battle except for one person, that cowardly wimp. With a kick in the air, she yells that she's talking about the coward who hid inside the wardrobe. Ji-young opens the door at that exact moment, with a face showing he didn't understand anything. But the ghost ends up falling on top of him and he accidentally grabbed an undergarment. I will pretend I believe it was an accident. He looks dumb and acts dumb, but dumb he is not. She turns red with embarrassment, not understanding where he got that piece of clothing. Outraged, she calls him a pervert while he tries to explain himself, shocked by the situation. After the confusion, he offers the clothing he got from the roulette to the girl with glasses. He says that he doesn't know the effect, but that it's definitely better than the torn uniform. The girl thanks him and accepts the item, putting on the lab coat he got by luck. At that very moment, she transforms into the school nurse, with a brand new outfit. The others become astonished, and the pink-haired one yells that she turned into the school nurse. She is shocked that a simple piece of clothing can even change a player's identity. With that, the girl concludes that our protagonist can only be a support-type character. He then becomes all embarrassed, staring at the undergarment he grabbed by accident in the wardrobe. Jane starts imagining the effect of that clothing on the girls, turning completely red. For those who doubted this guy was shameless, now you're certain. But soon after he becomes disappointed, when he learns that the 3 of them wore it and nothing happened. The ghost girl agrees it was a huge waste of time, and the others become embarrassed. Since it didn't work on them, the ghost suggests that the protagonist himself should try using it, climbing on top of Jane for this scene. I'll leave it to your imagination. The nurse then returns, saying she tested the clothing and can now go out without being caught. She takes the chance and announces she will investigate the entire school during the night. The pink-haired girl asks to go with her, telling her to say that she is sick. The nurse asks if she isn't scared, but the girl says she's more worried about her. Suddenly, a noise at the door draws attention, and 2 girls fall into the room in a scene with no fan service at all. The ghost girl immobilizes the newcomer, while the nurse asks who she is. The system then reveals that the girl is Lu Xiaoya, the president of the student council. The nurse becomes surprised, realizing she found another high-level character. The president says she heard the conversation and that she also can move freely around the school. With that, the group split up, and the nurse announces that a new cycle begins at midnight. Alone, they hope to find some important clue during the night. In the hallway, the president and the ghost are greeted by other students at the school. The ghost warns that the president violated the rules and that now she needs to talk to her in private. She complains that these rebellious students only cause more work, showing disregard. But the other girls surround the president, offering snacks and asking where she has been. The president becomes shocked by her own popularity, wondering if she became some kind of star. She politely refuses the snacks, saying she needs to take care of an important matter now. The students say goodbye, and then the 2 walk alone through the school's dark corridor. The president thinks that helping the teachers at night might be a way to uncover the secrets. Reaching the council room, the president tells the ghost girl to enter alone to investigate. The ghost says she is not in danger now and that she will take a look somewhere else. Worried, the president watches the ghost move away and asks her to be very careful, but then she remembers that the ghost isn't even human and that maybe the NPCs should be the ones scared. When she opens the door, she peeks through the crack and sees a man inside, writing at his desk. The man sees her and asks her to help organize a pile of lesson plans that are there. She grabs the papers but thinks they are common materials and sees nothing special in them. Out of nowhere, the teacher grabs her from behind, asking why she arrived before 11. "My God, guys, you can't trust anyone in this world," he whispers something in her ear, and the girl becomes shocked, thinking he is having an affair, but in reality it was the real president, who explains she came earlier because she had spare time. With a mischievous smile, he says that in that case they can get their meeting started ahead of time. The scene shifts to the rooftop and the ghost girl realizes they meet there in secret. She concludes that if the president has a romance with the teacher, she must know many secrets. She starts planning, thinking about how she will make the teacher spill everything at once. In that moment, the teacher hugs her from behind and asks if the girl missed him. He says he knew she couldn't stay away, but the girl feels like vomiting. Disgusted, she orders him to take his filthy hands off her and pushes him with all her strength. The man becomes furious at her attitude and throws her violently off the rooftop. He smiles sinisterly, saying that if she had been obedient, none of this would have happened. But she manages to hold on to the railing and insults him, saying she has put up with him long enough. Outraged, she climbs back up, furious that he dared to set a trap for her. The girl then jumps over the railing and flies toward the teacher, who becomes shocked by her reaction. She lands a strike and is startled by his weakness. Realizing he isn't even a ghost, she was already ready to finish him off and drag him straight to the wardrobe. Fallen on the ground, the teacher asks in shock since when she became so strong. He tries to explain himself desperately, saying it's not what she's thinking at all, but the girl grabs him by the collar, ordering him to shut up if he has no excuse. With a talisman in her hand, she yells that today she will deliver justice in the name of the heavens. The teacher begs for forgiveness, admitting that he really wronged her badly. She says it is too late to regret, and uses the talisman's power on him without mercy. The scene darkens, and the nurse girl wakes up because a new cycle has finally begun. She warns the president that the reading starts at 6:30, and they need to exchange information. The nurse says she will use her identity to get closer to the students and gather clues. The president stays quiet, remembering everything that happened the previous night with the teacher. She then tells the other girls everything she discovered while she was investigating. The ghost becomes furious with the story, saying she will go with her to deal with that scumbag. But the nurse explains that the girl was probably forced, since the relationship was unequal. The president becomes thoughtful, processing all the information she just heard from her friends. She concludes that the girl tried to ask for help, but ended up being silenced by the teacher. Really angry, she says she will go beat him up again, and the others get excited to go too. But the nurse stops them, warning that without a special identity, they cannot leave the room. The president then goes alone, and her friend asks her to be careful with the teachers. Arriving in the room, the teacher sees her and tells her to enter and close the door quickly. She nods but takes the chance to lock the door from the inside. With a seductive smile, she says that I was missing you just a little, but inside she is holding herself back from exploding in rage and jumping at his throat. He smiles, saying he knew she couldn't stay away, and asks her to lie to her parents. The teacher pulls her close, emotionally blackmailing her about the job he struggled to get. She starts to attack him very quickly. In 1 second. She uses the hair ribbon to tie the teacher tightly to the chair. He tries to scream, but she tells him to shut up and slaps that bastard hard across the face. With that, a notification says she completed part of the mission and earned a chance at the roulette. She decides to use the chance and wins an umbrella, wondering what kind of weapon that is. She looks at the tied-up teacher, wondering if he is serious about the umbrella. With an evil smile, she starts hitting him non-stop with her new item, and don't ask me where she put that umbrella. The scene shifts to a little later. An hour later, the nurse complains that the points didn't increase, and the mission didn't advance. She then turns to the ghost and warns that if she keeps hitting him, she'll finish him off, but the ghost says that if beating him advances the mission, why not devour him at once? The president doesn't understand, and the ghost explains that devouring means using her method to erase him. Suddenly the president gets a brilliant idea and says that now she understands everything. The next morning a teacher yells at the students telling them to run, so they won't be late. He sees a group of girls standing still and asks why they are all crowded there. It's the teacher with the whip, who sees a poster on the and asks who put that mess up. She rips the poster down and threatens the person who spread the rumors, sending the others to class, but the president stops her, asking how she knows it's a rumor without investigating first. The teacher recognizes her, and the two stare at each other with a challenging smile. The nurse arrives from behind with a scalpel and tells everyone to listen to what the president has to say. The president steps onto the bench and publicly denounces the teacher for forcing her into a relationship. The students become shocked at the revelation, finally understanding why she was always called to the room. The system announces that the progress of the main mission has increased and congratulates the host. She smiles, thinking that social death is the best way to destroy a hypocrite like him, but she quickly realizes that the mission is still not complete, and that maybe this isn't enough. The whip teacher hugs her, asking why she didn't tell anyone about something so serious. She then says she will stand by the student and invites her to go to the principal's office. The two walk together while the nurse watches from afar. Somewhat worried, they reach the door of the principal's office, ready to demand an explanation. The teacher opens the door with an evil expression, but the president is pushed into the dark room. She becomes scared by the darkness, thinking that the principal is even more suspicious than she seemed. The girl finds it very strange that the room is completely without light, and the door closes. A mysterious voice in the darkness says that it knows who she is and recognizes her. Suddenly the principal reveals herself, a bizarre creature surrounded by the bodies of students. The president becomes terrified, realizing that the most monstrous thing in the world is right there. The principal tries to calm her, asking her not to make trouble over such a trivial matter, but the girl becomes furious, yelling that having a teacher like that in the school is not trivial at all. Seeing that she will not yield, the principal prepares for the attack and assumes her monstrous form. She says she will personally discipline the disobedient student who dared challenge her. The creatures grab the girl, and she remembers a story about students who disappeared trapped. She thinks that if no one arrives soon, she will have to hide in the wardrobe. Suddenly the door of the room explodes open, clearing a path for unexpected help. The ghost appears furious, complaining that out of 10 explosive talismans, only one worked. She grabs the president and yells for her to run, unless she wants to die right there. The principal orders them not to run, and the two sprint down the dark hallway. The creature becomes enraged, saying that students like them should not exist in that school. The shadows of the monsters begin chasing the two, yelling to catch them no matter what. The ghost realizes there are too many spirits coming, and that the others won't be able to hold them back. She pulls her friend and tells her they should go up the stairs to try to escape the pursuit. On the rooftop, the whipped teacher scolds the president, calling her reckless. She accuses the girl of dragging a promising teacher into trouble, ruining his career. The teacher then thanks her for the support, but the whipped teacher says she just can't stand rebellious students. The ghost realizes the teacher is arrogant because he has connections, and she already prepares another talisman. But the president stops her, warning that there are many monsters on the other side of the building. She says she will take the blame, so they take her, and her friends can survive. She becomes furious, thinking that the victim did nothing wrong to have to admit guilt. With a confident smile, she shows the photo she took, and says she has something even better. The monsters rush toward her, but the president yells for her friend to take the chance and go. Suddenly the girl begins to shine, leaving the president confused by that light. In an instant she transforms, and the president realizes she is the real Lu Xiaoyu. The teacher tries to attack from behind, but the president warns her friend to be careful. With a simple snap of her fingers, she scatters all the shadows and saves her friend from the attack. The ghost becomes impressed, saying she has never seen a resentment so powerful like that. She yells at our protagonist to get out of the way because she is the strongest ghost in the world. The real Xiaoyu hands a talisman to the president and ignores her. Walking toward the boy, he says she is the true strongest ghost, because she is the master of that place. He explains that that is her nightmare and that he only wanted to help her be happy. With a smile, she praises him for being very intelligent and for discovering her entire plan. The scene changes, showing the girl alone on the rooftop, wondering why no one believed her. She remembers that everyone blamed her, and in despair she ended up falling from the rooftop. Returning to the present, she thanks him for the help and kisses him as a form of gratitude. The ghost watches the scene from afar, feeling very jealous. With the nightmare resolved, the ghost begins to fade little by little from the rooftop. She reaches out her hand to our protagonist, who tries to reach her, But it is already too late. Suddenly they are transported to a dark place, not understanding where they are. The system congratulates the player for completing the missions and clearing the game successfully. He becomes confused, wondering if that really counts as completing the mission. Then, the system says he received a thank you gift from the master of the world. The ghost becomes outraged, wondering why only he got a thank you gift. When he opens it, a complete bunny girl costume appears shining in front of him. This system is a clown too. Zhang becomes irritated for only receiving girl clothes, and the ghost teases that he has a fetish. She encourages him to try it on, saying that a gift from the master must be powerful. I think this is going way too far. But he refuses, so he suggests that she could try the outfit herself. She becomes all red and refuses immediately, saying she would never wear something so strange. Suddenly the boy feels dizzy and asks her not to do anything for now. A portal opens under him and starts pulling him in. To the ghost's surprise, she manages to grab his hand in time, trying to keep him from being taken away. A tunnel of time and space opens, and the system announces that the points scoreboard has been unlocked. The two are pulled upward, and the system congratulates the player for the ranking update. He becomes shocked to discover that all those ghosts were only from the beginner stage. A mysterious voice warns that the game is dangerous, but the reward is more precious than life, and the player who clears all the worlds and reaches first place in the ranking will receive a gift, a rare and mysterious gift, capable of granting any wish a person may have. The ghost thinks that no matter what the wish is, it might truly become reality. So the boy decides that it's not enough to just clear the game, he must be the first. The ranking shows that he is in position 677, and the ghost is in 608, one below him. Suddenly, a strong flash appears in front of them, blinding both of them. He wakes up back in the ancestral house, wondering if he finally returned to the real world. The boy celebrates, relieved, happy for having managed to escape that crazy game, but to his surprise, he sees the ghost floating there, and panic hits him immediately. A system notification warns that the next game will open in 1 day, so they should prepare. The ghost becomes furious, yelling that that cursed game seems like it will never end. She uses her powers and ties him up, but he tries to calm her down, saying that they are still a team. She brags, saying she didn't even use 10 of her strength in that stupid game, but he breaks free and realizes that maybe the game had some kind of power restriction. The ghost seems to understand that too, wondering if that was the restriction she felt. She starts flying around the house, and he follows her, asking where she thinks she's going. They reach a room full of talismans, and he wonders what that is. The ghost tries to touch the talismans, but gets shocked hard and screams in pain. He holds her and realizes it still doesn't work, even with her trying with all her strength with her hand on his chest. She says that now it's his turn to try his luck. He steps closer, and when he touches the talisman, his hand begins to shine. The ghost looks at him with bright eyes, completely shocked by what she is seeing. She sees him in a different way, as if he were another person, and is left speechless. With tears in her eyes, she calls him master, recognizing his true power. She hugs him emotionally, saying that her master has finally returned home. He becomes completely confused by the situation, wondering if she is talking to him. The ghost steps back embarrassed, and wonders why his aura is now only his own. He doesn't understand anything she is saying, and asks what the aura clearly was. All flustered, she looks away and answers that it was nothing important, for him to forget it. She says she was silly to confuse him, since it is normal for him to have a trace of the aura. He turns to the altar and reads the name of the patriarch, finding the name very familiar, but she becomes irritated, yelling that he has no right to say the master's name. The girl complains that the clan decayed, for having descendants who don't know their own history. He becomes shocked, wondering if the clan leader could really control ghosts. With a kick, she yells that she is a guardian spirit, and not any random ghost. They look at the empty room, and she complains that there is nothing there besides the altar. She laments, because only the master could suppress her power, and she thought he had returned. He becomes excited, asking if his father and grandfather are also around somewhere. She scolds him, asking if he thinks someone can simply skip reincarnation. He looks at the broken phone and realizes he spent almost 24 hours in the game without eating. Desperate, he yells that if he doesn't eat soon, he is the one who will reincarnate from hunger. The scene then changes to an empty street, showing that they went out to look for food. Eating, he asks how she, being a ghost, can stay fine under the sun. She flicks his forehead, reinforcing that she is a guardian spirit, not a haunting. She thinks that before she couldn't leave the house, but now that he lives there, She can move while eating. He searches on the phone but doesn't find any clue about the game. Suddenly, he finds a news article about the girl from the game, Lu Xiaoyu. Shocked, he wonders if she really existed in the real world. The scene changes to a bus running at night and he is inside. Thoughtful, he convinces himself that he has no connection with her, so the police won't talk to him. The bus stops at the stop, and he and the ghost get off right in front of the school from the game. He understands that it probably isn't just a game but something much more serious. The scene focuses on the school's clock tower, and a strange energy begins to surround them. Suddenly he wakes up tied to a bed, and the system welcomes him back. He understands that the 1 day of preparation the system mentions starts counting from midnight. Looking around, he realizes the place looks like a psychiatric hospital. He wonders if he has to pretend to be crazy, but he doesn't know how to do something like that. He notices someone coming in, and sees a nurse with a syringe in her hand. The nurse approaches him, and he becomes terrified. Not knowing what she is going to do, he recognizes her as Sen Lin Lin, and she asks him to stay quiet so they won't get caught dressed as a nurse. She explains that the card he received must be a patient card. He says he didn't even have time to look, and she says his name should be on the ID card. A system screen appears with his data, but the diagnosis part is blank. Someone calls the nurse from the room next door, and she pretends she is medicating the patient. A masked doctor appears and says the nurse's face doesn't look familiar. The girl becomes all nervous and stammers, saying she is new there and just arrived. The doctor throws her against the wall, saying that because she is new she is slow in her tasks. She complains that the girl doesn't know how to smile, and that this will drive patients away from the hospital. With a syringe in hand, the doctor says she will have to retrain her personally. Through the crack in the door, the boy complains that the bed restraints are too tight. He sees the doctor approaching his friend and screams desperately for her not to do that. But the doctor ignores him and says it is a punishment, injecting the liquid into the girl. She steps away, reminding the nurse to keep smiling, or everyone will be unhappy. After the doctor leaves, the girl returns to the room, seeming to be in a strange state. The boy calls her and she turns to him, moaning in a weird and worrying way. Suddenly she begins saying she is feeling good. With her face completely flushed, he becomes shocked, wondering what the hell was in that syringe that made her like that on the bed. He begins to feel chills, since the girl is acting very strange. The nurse feels immense joy, describing the sensation as a blessing. Completely out of herself, she begins moaning with pleasure, her whole body sweaty. She turns to him with a silly smile, seeming to be in a trance. Worried, he asks if she is okay, but she doesn't seem to hear anything he says. She explains that, in the hospital, everyone must smile or they will be punished severely. The girl asks if she did something strange, and he, all embarrassed, shakes his head no. The clock strikes 6, and the nurse says with a smile that the time has finally come. Lying on the bed, he feels the restraints slowly disappear, without understanding what is going on. The nurse appears with a wheelchair, and says she is going to take him out for a bit. In the garden, another nurse talks to a patient, saying that smiling helps with healing. He then asks what they should do now that they are inside a sinister hospital. She explains that the other two are a patient and a surgeon, and that they will meet. She approaches him and remembers that the ghost had an item for them to use in the game. The scene shifts to the hospital lobby, a dark and completely empty hallway. Suddenly the nurse appears wearing a bunny outfit. All embarrassed, the doctor and the ghost are also wearing the same outfit. Complaining that if they knew they wouldn't have worn it, they throw the bunny tail into the hallway. Complaining that it is way too bold hidden, he peeks from inside his room. Observing the item lying on the floor, suddenly a tiny hand appears and carefully picks up the plush tail. The boy leaves the room and comes across the little girl sitting there. Holding the item, he finds it strange that she isn't smiling and tells her that the bunny tail belongs to him. The boy asks if she liked it, but the little girl only stares at him in silence. He thinks that he cannot expose his group because he still doesn't know who that girl is. To cover the situation, he then decides to give the bunny tail to her as a present. A voice announces that the visiting time is over, and he laments not having found any clue. Our hero points to his room and tells the little girl that he is going back first, but suddenly, the girl jumps onto his back and holds him tightly. Hidden, the ghost becomes irritated, wondering why he is getting involved with others. He asks what is wrong, but the little girl stays silent, only hugging him without getting an answer. He starts to suspect that maybe the mute. He then asks her to let him go, and the girl obeys, stepping a little away from him. Zhang feels haunted, seeing the dark footprints leading to the mysterious little girl. With her braid holding him, he says he is going back to the room and that she should go too. Already at the door, he tries calling someone, but the girl remains standing right behind him. She then stares at another patient in the hallway, who warns that that is a single room. The other patient transforms into a monster, screaming furiously about what a single room means. The boy and the girl freeze in fear, not knowing how to react to that thing. But the blonde girl's eye shines with a golden cross. Upon seeing those eyes, the nurse runs away, and he finds it strange. Jing then realizes that the nurse seemed very afraid of that silent little girl. The boy laments, thinking that once again he got involved with someone very dangerous. The girl pulls him by the hand into the room, and he already senses that the night will not be calm. Tired, he decides to forget the confusion and sits on the bed to rest a bit. Seeing the girl sit beside him, he asks if by any chance she wants the bed. Embarrassed, he grabs the pillow and says that she can take the bed, because he will sleep on the floor. The little girl only keeps looking at him while he settles down on the floor of the room. Out of nowhere, she lies down beside him and hugs him. Leaving the boy completely confused by her action, he finds it strange that the girl sleeps that way, and begins to get a little suspicious. Afraid, he wonders if she won't rip his head off while he is sleeping. He decides that he needs to stay alert, but ends up falling asleep without even noticing. In his dream, red chains appear out of nowhere and bind him with great force. He realizes that the chains are alive, and that they are draining all of his energy. The chains break into pieces, and he wakes up, still feeling the effect of the nightmare. Suddenly, the little girl appears in front of him, looking like another person, with red eyes. She throws him against the wall with absurd strength, showing her hidden power. With a threatening look, she asks if he is the silent chosen one. Zhang wonders if this girl is Momo, and who she really is. Holding a knife, she calls him trash, and approaches with a very intimidating look. The girl attacks him without warning, yelling for him to die. Catching the boy completely off guard, the wardrobe appears out of nowhere, and protects him from the attack, blocking the girl's strike. Desperate, he runs to the wardrobe and screams for help, trying to hide. He believes that if he manages to hide inside, he will finally be safe. He closes the wardrobe door and peeks through the crack, surprised that it actually worked. Inside, he panics and screams, realizing that this is not his wardrobe. But the girl appears with him, asking if he thinks that just hiding is enough. Suddenly, he notices a bunny headband right beside him, which leaves him confused. The girl stands there in front of him, only watching him in complete silence. He grabs the headband and, all awkward, asks if she by any chance likes that item. He then offers the accessory to her, and she holds it with both hands, seeming to like it. With that, she puts on the top part of the outfit and returns to normal. To the boy's surprise, he understands that the outfit was for her, so he says that the bunny costume now belongs to her. With a smile, the little girl hugs the new outfit, seeming very happy with the present. Seeing the scene, he gets the impression that she really liked the costume a lot. But out of nowhere, the girl jumps on him again, hugging him tightly once more. The system warns that he has met Momo and unlocked her affection level. The notification explains that high affection can have unexpected consequences in the game. Her profile appears, revealing that Momo is a Shrank patient with identity disorder. He finally understands that that other version was Momo's second personality. Carefully, he asks if she knows she just transformed into someone else. The little girl looks at him and answers softly, calling the other personality her older sister. He is surprised, realizing she can speak, and gets confused by the term older sister. Momo grabs the bunny outfit and says that that is her older sister's costume. He remembers the aggressive personality and realizes she is the murderous bunny girl. With a smile, the girl says she feels very comfortable near him, and falls asleep in her thoughts. She remembers her other personality telling her to stay away from men, but she ignores the warning, because he was the one who brought her sister's outfit back. In a vision, the other personality appears alone and vulnerable, suffering in the dark. She believes that with the outfit back, maybe her sister won't suffer as much. Besides that, she feels very comfortable and safe near that gentle boy. The other personality appears with a protective expression, saying that no one can hurt him. The scene shifts, showing a bizarre creature in the hallway. The system warns that Momo's favorability has increased, and that he earned 5 more lottery chances. He decides to use his chances on the roulette, but gets scared by the variety of bizarre items. With the new items, he is shocked by a specific piece, and wonders if that is even allowed in the morning. He wakes up and sees Momo staring at him with a curious expression. He pretends nothing is wrong and says he will take a walk, and the little girl agrees to go with him walking down the hallway. He finds it strange that the hospital is so quiet and silent. He wonders if no one works the night shift, and Momo sees a nurse behind them. Suddenly the nurse is attacked by red chains and dragged into the darkness at the reception desk. He takes advantage of no one being around and grabs a pile of papers. He reads the files and discovers they are patient records, wondering what his illness is, but he soon shakes his head. Convincing himself he has no illness at all, he finds it strange that the computer is on and sees that Momo is already sitting in front of the screen. He thinks that if this were the real world, those nurses would definitely be reported on the computer. He sees the name of the hospital and thinks about researching the game. Once he leaves, he sees the hospital's success cases but finds the morgue description very strange. He decides that he needs to investigate before dawn and heads out with the little girl. He hears a noise and notices the morgue door is unlocked. After entering, he calls the little girl, asking why she didn't come in with him. But he quickly changes his mind, thinking it's better not to enter a morgue for no reason. He asks her to wait there, because he will just take a quick look and come back. Momo was supposed to wait outside, but she couldn't hold back and entered through the door. The scene shifts, showing the outside of the morgue building during the day. Inside he finds everything very dark and wonders where the elevator is. Suddenly he sees someone's shadow, and notices the curtains close on their own. A bloody bandage falls right in front of him, leaving him completely terrified. Shocked, he looks down and sees that the bandage is wrapped around his own leg. The little girl beside him hears the noises and becomes all red and trembling. She starts shaking with fear, sensing the presence of something very dangerous nearby. A bandaged creature appears, asking which department he is from. She says it looks like it is not yet his time to be in that place. The creature approaches him with a smile, asking him not to be in such a hurry. She wraps him with her bandages, saying he will have plenty of time to stay there. The boy wakes up in a wheelchair, and the creature appears holding a vial. She is surprised he woke up so fast, which makes her very interested. She says that maybe his body is suitable for drug testing and forces him to drink. He becomes all red and dizzy, wondering what kind of drug that was. In sequence, he falls asleep and begins dreaming about the bunny outfit in his dream. The cute girl begs him to spare her, completely embarrassed. He hears the ghost mumbling while sleeping and finds it funny that ghosts talk in their sleep. Suddenly, he wakes up in a strange place, surrounded by several girls in pajamas. The one with glasses asks him to help clean a stain. With a very seductive look, the ghost is also there, asking him to be gentler while she stretches. Momo's 2 personalities appear, and one of them says that he also enjoys the situation. The scene returns to the hospital. Unfortunately, it was all just a dream, guys, and the creature tells Jang to sit and just enjoy the moment. The nurse peeks through the bedroom door, seeing the creature with its torture tools. She panics, worried that he won't survive swallowing all those potions to save him. The nurse decides to suck the potion out of his mouth before he swallows it. She manages to remove everything in time, but ends up blushing all over with the situation. The ghost wakes up in a hospital room, wondering what is happening there. Suddenly, she realizes she is tied to a chair, unable to move. One of the doctors checks her teeth and suggests sharpening them to turn them into fangs. The other doctor complains about the average size, and the ghost yells for them to let her go. She revolts, saying that she didn't ask for fangs and much less implants. The doctors explain that they know that, but that it's a request from their client with a scalpel in hand. They say that the ghost is just the merchandise of the moment. Shocked, she wonders what kind of client that is and how she became merchandise. The doctor approaches and asks her not to worry because the surgery will be quick. The 2 stare at her with a sinister smile, saying that she will become the perfect merchandise. Trapped, the ghost struggles, thinking that if it weren't for the seal, she could escape. One of the doctors injects something into her, and she realizes she will never be able to break free. The seal on her chest breaks, releasing a powerful and unknown energy. A dark energy explodes in all directions, and the ghost transforms, ending up with pitch black hair and a very beautiful appearance. The doctors cling to each other in terror, not understanding what is going on with that powerful aura. The transformed girl says that they offended the princess and unleashes a deadly attack. Screams of despair echo through the room, and one of the doctors cries for help from her sister. Suddenly, the ghost is already outside, not remembering how she managed to escape. She realizes the seal has weakened and celebrates that now her power is much stronger. At that moment, she sees the nurse pushing our protagonist in the wheelchair down the corridor with a smile. She waves and calls them both by name. All happy to see them again, the nurse asks if the patient needs help, but warns that she will take him to surgery. The boy panics and yells that her memories are messed up, and she thinks she is a nurse. The ghost approaches and tells him not to panic, because she is going to release him now. With a fire talisman she burns the restraints, but ends up burning him as well. She yells for him to stop wasting time and help restrain the crazy nurse. The ghost jumps on the nurse, trying to calm her down somehow. Seeing the scene, he awkwardly asks if he is interrupting something important. Suddenly the two switch clothes, and the ghost becomes the nurse. The boy points down the corridor, saying that the other doctor's room is in that direction. They see the doctor from afar, and he confirms that it's her, without a doubt. He is startled by her expression and notices that she looks just like the nurse from before. The doctor appears with a sinister smile, approaching him with a threatening look. With sharp scalpels, she asks where the nurse who should be taking care of him is. She throws the blades, saying that rude patients like him need to go to surgery. The ghost appears in front of him and protects him, but it seems she has forgotten him too. He panics, realizing that she also forgot about the group. The scene shifts, and we see the doctor and the nurse unconscious on the floor of the room. The ghost complains that he is useless and has no attack power to help. Embarrassed, he answers that, after all, he is just support. The ghost explains that the spiritual bodies of the two are incomplete. He asks what that means, and she says they need to find the missing bodies. She concludes that even if they return to the real world, they won't be able to live well. The ghost explains that at best they will remain fragile and weak forever. He understands that they need to help find the bodies, but wonders how the doctor got lost. The ghost has an idea and remembers that the doctor had just left the operating room. The two arrive in front of the operating room, and Zhang looks around. Suddenly the girl shouts his name, and the scaredy cat falls to the floor in fright. The girl even asks how the former master could have such a descendant lying on the floor. He asks if the voice is referring to that Zhang Yao. She stands up and he calls her, but the ghost seems to no longer remember him. Worried, he asks what's wrong, but she keeps staring at him in confusion. She explains that in the last surgery, it seems that a part of her spiritual body was cut off. She says she was never human, so she will not end up like the others, even missing a part. It's just that, because of that, she seems to have forgotten some important things from her past, as if a part had been taken from her. She concludes that the bloodline of the former master must be protecting the boy. Curious, she asks if he doesn't want to know what kind of person the former master was. He answers yes, and that she was someone very important to him. He asks her to remind him if he ever forgets her in the future, and she agrees. Suddenly a giant syringe falls from the ceiling, almost hitting the two in the process. The ghost pushes him away, saving him from the impact of the giant syringe on the floor. The ground cracks from the force, and the syringe gets stuck right in the middle of the corridor. A creature hanging from the ceiling, full of eyes, asks if they are the new co-workers. The upside-down creature stares at him and says that his face is not familiar. He hides, and the ghost punches him, complaining that all he knows how to do is hide. She throws him to the ground, saying that he does nothing but take advantage of women. He sees the little girl there too, and she looks at him with suspicion. The ghost says that if it weren't for her help, he wouldn't have gotten out so quickly. The little girl picks up a wig and asks him if he also wants one of those. She throws the wig on the floor and points down the corridor, indicating the path to follow. He asks where she is going and if by chance she wants them to go together. She leads them to the door of a room, and he asks why she brought them there. Upon opening the door, they come across a bald patient holding a teddy bear. The patient gets irritated when he sees them, and a dark aura begins to form around him. Desperate, he hands over the wig, saying that it is a gift, and that he doesn't need to thank him. The patient calms down, and they run away in fear, leaving the bald man confused. With the wig on his head, the patient transforms into a cute and smiling little girl. He suspects something went wrong, because he felt that she wanted to attack him with everything. The system congratulates him for meeting patient 215 and unlocking her favorability. He gets excited upon learning that he gained another lottery chance and spins the wheel again. The ghost complains that his wardrobe is not decent at all, full of strange items. With a smile, he asks if the little girl knows who needs those things. He then decides that he will test the items on each of the hospital's patients. He gives a little shoe to one patient, and the ghost gives a piece of clothing to another. With the new items they walk through the hallway, helping all the patients they find, but in the end, one of the patients ends up being trampled by the ghost, making him worried. Jane continues unlocking the favorability of several other patients in the hospital. After handing everything out, he decides that he will search the other buildings of the hospital. He celebrates, saying that he never thought the things in the wardrobe could be used like that. The system congratulates him for unlocking a side mission, leaving him very confused. Suddenly he sees several patients watching him from afar, through the hallways. The ghost approaches and anxiously asks if the mission has already been completed. He explains that 2 are still missing, even after they went through all the rooms. Momo appears and hugs him from behind, making the ghost jealous of the scene. He is surprised by her presence, and the ghost gets even more irritated with the situation. A notification warns that a patient's favorability dropped, making him worried. The ghost gets embarrassed upon realizing that the patient was her, and that the system caught her jealousy. She tries to pretend, saying that she is not jealous, just irritated with that scoundrel. He has an idea and realizes that the 2 missing are the doctor and the nurse. They go to the room and find the 2 tied up, appearing to be in a strange trance. He panics, wondering how he will gain favorability with them in that state. The ghost suggests doing something to make them happy, and he is unsure what to do. With a snap of his fingers, he uses his powers to create a relaxing illusion for them. In her dream, the doctor relaxes in the water, feeling all of her worries fade away. Suddenly a bright light appears and kisses the doctor, and we can already imagine who that silhouette of light belongs to. The doctor wakes up startled, and he celebrates that she finally returned to normal. He turns to the nurse, who is still in a trance, and the doctor shouts her name. The 2 face each other, and the doctor tries to wake her friend, who is still trapped in the illusion. The doctor wonders if she was awakened like that, and the ghost confirms that yes. She explains that Momo said that removing their smile would wake them immediately. The doctor wonders about the last part of the dream, and what the about. He wakes the nurse, who becomes all embarrassed upon seeing him there, and he unties her. She turns away, still flustered, and thanks him for trying to save her from the potion. He tells her not to worry, because they will find a way to restore the bodies. With a blushing face, she asks if in the dream, he saved her from something. He gets confused, saying that he only helped exercise her facial muscles. She approaches and says that in the dream he stopped her from having a meal. With a sinister smile she attacks him, and he realizes that the situation got really bad. She tells him to go to hell. But the ghost realizes that the one who woke up wasn't the nurse with purification talismans. The ghost casts a spell to exorcise the spirit. The talisman hits directly, and the doctor appears to check if the boy is okay. He explains that he wasn't hurt, and that he is resistant to drugs. So it wasn't a big deal. The ghost says that the nurse's body is incomplete, and that the ghost doctor took advantage. A voice threatens, saying that if they continue with the mess, the pink-haired girl dies. Momo appears and warns that the ghost has already fused with the nurse a long time ago. He refuses to give up, but the ghost says there is a way to purify the soul. She asks him to extend his hand. Preparing to perform a risky ritual, she makes a cut on his finger and begins to lick it, leaving the boy completely flustered. Suddenly, they are transported into the depths of her spiritual body. She says that she will charge a payment for having helped him, and kisses him without warning. The scene returns, and he sits there thinking about the kiss he just received. He complains that he didn't absorb power, and she explains that she needs to drain his energy. She teaches him how to feel the spiritual energy flowing inside his body. He manages to feel the energy, and the 2 merge into one spiritual body. The ghost begins to feel intense pleasure as the fusion completes. The energy flows between them, and the ghost seems to be enjoying the sensation a lot. He celebrates that she is back to normal, but she kicks him, telling him to stop. She tells him to forget what happened, and inject the purified energy into the nurse. With the energy of the Jiang bloodline, the evil spirits will surely be repelled. He injects the energy and the nurse begins to scream in pain, feeling her body burn. The system warns that he completed the mission and gained the support of the hospital residents. He wonders if, as the new director, he can order the ghost doctors to open the doors. The scene changes, showing a woman complaining about the drop in satisfaction among VIP patients. A woman tells them to come in, but the receptionist gets scared and asks how they got in there. Momo appears and orders the woman to leave immediately, using her chains to attack. The receptionist is shocked, wondering how she could have helped the enemy group. Momo says that her sister wants her dead, and attacks her with a powerful strike. Fallen on the floor, the woman begins to scream for help, begging for someone to assist her. A notification warns that the hospital director has disappeared, and the election will begin. He gets excited, saying that he will be elected the new director with 100 votes at once. But the system scans him and says that he is not qualified to participate in the election. The ghost asks if he doesn't have an item that can change his identity. He then enters the wardrobe and begins to search for something that might help. He finds an item he hadn't managed to give to anyone and realizes that it was for him. With the new item, he transforms into a black-haired nurse with pigtails. Confident, he says that now it will definitely work, and the election will happen. The system congratulates him on the election, and appoints him as the new hospital director. He wonders if, besides the hospital, there are other areas to explore outside. He asks Momo if she wants to leave, and if he opens the gate, she will go away. He says that if a hospital can't save people, it's better for them to leave. The ghost gets jealous, wondering why he becomes so popular when he dresses as a woman. As the new director, he invites everyone to follow him out of the hospital. The system congratulates him for clearing the game, and warns that the bond function has been unlocked. Inside the wardrobe, he finds it strange to see the items he had already given to everyone. Next, the system explains the sad story of the little bunny girl and the bond with Momo. The boy gets confused, but the ghost understands that this is like a spiritual contract. Afterwards, a notification says that he gained the trust of 100 spirits and a reward. He then asks what a contract spirit is, and if he can still see them again. But when it was about to explain, the floor breaks and the two fall into total darkness. Our protagonist wakes up on the ground, lamenting that another crazy game has ended. Then the ghost appears and immediately recognizes the brush he received as a reward. She grabs him desperately, telling him to go to the office to get ink and talisman paper. The guardian is sure that this is the master's brush and that it must have magical power, but he can't draw anything, and she accuses him of making a very ugly talisman. Annoyed by his uselessness, she suddenly feels a strong pain in her chest. The ghost doesn't understand why her spiritual body still hasn't fully recovered. The boy then realizes that his energy can help, but that it wasn't enough. Embarrassed, she throws herself on the floor, telling him not to even dream of that, which confuses him out of nowhere. The protagonist screams in pain, feeling a strange energy take over his body. The guardian doesn't like his expression and her spiritual body begins to shine. Awkwardly, he asks if the energy he transferred still wasn't enough. Outraged, she shouts that the problem isn't the energy, but that it is insufficient. She stares closely at him and asks if he is the one who can't do it right. And so we finish the first part of this story. If you want me to bring part 2, comment below. I'll leave 2 video recommendations from the channel that I'm sure you'll like. See you later, everyone.